We are live. Welcome into the NFL opening line report for week 1 of the NFL season. This is the final look at the NFL season win total market with the guy that might be the sharpest season win total handicapper out there in the world. At least maybe. Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. Teddy, welcome in, buddy.
It's extremely flattering. Thank you. I'm not going to claim to be the best season win total better in the world. However, I will stand by the track record. Obviously, 88-40 with the season win reports dating back to 2001. 13-3 with the 5% big ticket selections during that span. Haven't had one every year, but it's been good. We made money for the clients. We made money for ourselves, and that's why it's a report that has gotten the hype that it has. Obviously, it comes out again. The 2020 NFL season win report comes out tomorrow on Tuesday, the day after Labor Day. It'll be released at noon Pacific time. That's 3 o'clock on the East Coast. And it's one of those reports. If you're going to get it, I encourage you get it right when it comes out. In years past, I've moved the number sometimes significantly, especially with the big ticket selection. So, and of course, you get it for free. If you sign up for the season package, I encourage you to do that. The NFL's been good, 57%, counting every play, every day over the last 5 years. But if you want to adjust the season win report, it is $199, and again noon Pacific time, mañana, tomorrow on Tuesday.
Noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Teddy Covers. Track records there, guys. Last 20 years. Never had back-to-back losing seasons, and he is off of a losing season. So keep that in mind as well. And Teddy, for today's show, guys, we're going to go division by division, get a look at each of these teams' season win total, what Teddy's seen in the offseason here. Of course, last week I went solo, gave out my 2 free plays, the teams that I bet in the season win total market. I'll throw those off at Teddy again this week, get his opinion on those. Teddy, is there anything else you wanted to throw out there before we start going team by team here?
Yeah, I just want to say, I was gone for almost 2 weeks. I had a personal family tragedy so I apologize for not doing the show, but whatever. There are things that are more important than football. There are things that are more important than anything, and this was one of those situations. So I want to thank, and I got so many positive comments. People say Twitter's a cesspool. I swear, it was nothing but positivity and good thoughts, and I really appreciate all of those of you. A lot of people reached out, and I want to thank you for that. So apologize for missing the show. I don't expect to miss another one between now and the Super Bowl. So here we go, Drew. And of course, we did a proper opening line report. We talked about what the openers were, where we thought the market was going to move. We did that a couple of weeks ago. There was some thought about doing that show again today. And I'm like, let's focus on season wins today because that's a show that we haven't done in a while. Next week, next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, it'll be a proper opening line report. We'll discuss what the look-aheads were. We'll discuss what the powering numbers are, and we'll discuss where I expect the numbers to move for week 2 in the NFL. But for today, the focus is going to be on the season wins. Obviously, with the report coming out tomorrow, I've been doing a ton of season win work, so it's all on the brain right here. Let's see how much I can get it out to you guys over the course of the next half hour plus.
All right, Teddy. And guys, we got everybody welcome into the show. This is 10 a.m. Pacific time each and every Monday throughout the NFL season. Teddy and myself will be breaking it down, a look ahead towards the lines of the following week. This episode is the final episode for the season win total report. Paul, welcome in the chat box from England. Mike, welcome in as always. Nate as well. Ryan, Joe, Jordan, Jamel. All of you guys, welcome in. Feel free to throw out anything you're looking to bet and why. We'll try to get it out here on the show. Any comments are welcome on the YouTube channel, on WagerTalk, also on Twitter as well, at Drew Martin Bets, at Teddy_Covers, at WagerTalk on Twitter. Teddy, let's start off in the AFC East. We got the New England Patriots, 12-4 last year. Arguably the big signing of the offseason with Cam Newton coming into at least hopefully fill in the shoes for Tom Brady. And I say that personally because I bet the Patriots over on their season win total of 9, Teddy, and one of my free plays from last week, 12-4 last year. And we got them 9 flat here as a season win total. You can get plus money on that over if you shop around. What are your overall thoughts here on the New England Patriots season wins?
Yeah, I'm looking right now, Caesars has the Patriots 8.5 over -120. And again, these are lines from Vegas. Circa has them 8.5 over, -135. And whenever I'm talking about a season-long bet, in general, I'd rather lay a little bit of extra juice to get the better number. Because, and again, a half win is usually worth 50 cents. And I say usually, in fact, Circa has these lines where you can get adjusted lines. You can get teams a full win lower or higher with the juice corresponding. Meaning that if the Patriots are 8.5, you can bet them over 7.5. You can bet them under 7.5. You can bet them over 9.5 and under 9.5 as well, with the juice adjusted. And I've always been saying, I've been saying this for years. Each half win is worth 50 cents. And when you look at the seat from Circa, each half win is worth about 50 cents. So the old math model has played out the way that we thought it would. Now, even with the signing of Cam Newton, it's hard to picture a team that had a rougher offseason than the Patriots. You lose your longtime Hall of Famer at quarterback. You have 8 guys opt out, and impact players opt out in the offseason. You have a lot of moving pieces. You have a lot of personnel issues. It's a significant negative offseason. So the question is, how much do you believe in Belichick? And the markets right now aren't believing in Belichick as much as they have in years past. I've stepped in front of the Patriots a few times over the last 20 years. I cashed one of them. I remember it. It was the year Brady got hurt week 1, and I got Matt Castle, and I won my under bet by a half a win.
I remember that one.
I'm not in a rush to step in front of New England. Not at all. And the markets have, I'm not going to say devalue this team, but they're certainly not high on the Patriots coming into week 1.
Down as low as 8.5, so you can even get a better number than I did on the Patriots. We got the Buffalo Bills 10-6 last year. Teddy, I guess some people thinking they're the favorites in the AFC East.
Well, from a betting standpoint, they are. And odds to win the division, Buffalo's anywhere from even money. I saw as high as plus 140 on the Bills to win the division. Worth noting from a win total standpoint, the Bills right now are pretty flat around 9. It's 9. I'm just looking at a couple of numbers. 9 -115 to the over. Here I got 9 -105 to the over. So it's in that range. And again, one of the things I do is I track. I've got openers from April 12th. And at that time, the Bills were pretty much their line pretty close to 9.5. So the juice has come towards the under on Buffalo. The market's not excited about the Bills making a big jump.
And then New York Jets, 7-9 last year, also 7-9 ATS. What are you thinking for their season win total?
Yeah, I mean, and the Jets, again, a couple of months ago, the Jets were sitting at 6.5. Right now, they're sitting at 6.5. The marketplace hasn't paid a whole lot of attention to the New York Football Jets, other than to say they're still going to be a bad team. This has not been an off-season mover in the win total marketplace.
We got the Miami Dolphins, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tua Tagovailoa. 5-11 last year, 9-7 ATS, kind of a winning bet down there in South Florida. Teddy, what are you thinking for the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, Miami was a flat 6 back in April, and now we've seen there's 6.5s out there for the Dolphins. The over 6 is juiced a little bit. The over 5.5 for Miami is juiced. There are 6.5s out there, and the 6s there's over juice on Miami. Sorry to make that very clear. There are no 5.5s. On the Dolphins. I will say this: the markets are more bullish on Miami than I am. That is not a minor rebuild that Brian Flores got himself into, and the markets like the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick, following the death of his mom, has come back into camp and he's been named the starter, and they like Fitzpatrick as the starting QB. At some point this year, unless Miami's in contention, you expect to see Tua get his opportunity. And in general, when you talk about rookie QBs, they'll make your eye-popping plays. They'll also won't win a whole lot of games for you. I'm not looking at the Dolphins over. I'm surprised the markets have been as bullish on Miami as they are. Given, I understand they finished the season 5-4 last year positively after that dismal start. But you can put an asterisk next to every win that they had. I continue to power rate Miami as among the real bottom feeders of the league. The market's a little bit higher on the Dolphins than I am. And in fact, I've got a free play up for week 1, Miami, New England. You can read full analysis right now at sportsmemo.com.
Yeah, check it out, sportsmemo.com. And guys, remember, he's got the season win total package coming out tomorrow, noon Pacific. So check it out, sportsmemo.com. You also get that included with the NFL full season and also college football NFL combo full season. The win package is included in that. Teddy, kind of a follow-up here on the Dolphins. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is taking snaps, week 15, week 16, that's looking good for the Dolphins season win total going over, correct?
Yeah. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is taking snaps week 15, barring an injury to Tua, it would bode very well for the Dolphins season wins to go over. I wouldn't count on that.
Okay. And Teddy, before we get to the AFC North here, we got a couple questions in the chat box. Jamel asking, talking about watching out for what to bet these games with no fans. I guess in just to add to that, are there certain teams that you're subtracting more or adding to with home field advantage due to COVID-19?
Okay. So let's talk about who has fans in the stands. The Chiefs will have fans. The Dolphins will have fans. The Cowboys, the Browns, the Colts, and the Jaguars all have been approved to have fans in the stands, and that runs anywhere from 2,500 fans in Indy to 17,000 in Jacksonville. But there's some fans for those 6 teams that I know of. When you talk about what stadiums does it impact, well, who's got the strongest home field edges, who's got the biggest crowd noise edges in the NFL? 3 teams stand out: Vikings, Saints, Seahawks, none of whom are expected to have fans and all of whom normally have pretty big edges, both in terms of point spread results and in terms of crowd noise. When their opponents face a third down, it can be ugly. So I think it hurts Seattle, New Orleans, and Minnesota. When you talk about the teams that aren't necessarily impacted by not having fans, you think about the team with no fan base. The Jaguars don't sell out, the Redskins don't sell out, or the Washington football team doesn't sell out anymore. The Chargers, even with the new stadium, aren't not a team with a loaded fan base or haven't had any home field edge in recent years. So those 3 teams, perhaps you might say, well, they lose less than the average team. Jags, Washington football team, and Chargers. So that's my initial thoughts on home field edge. And we're going to adjust. The markets are going to adjust. We'll see who adjusts better. Right now, that's what we got.
Okay. And Teddy, we got Nathan saying, preseason games, handicapping that. Does that affect certain teams more than others not playing any preseason games, or is it pretty much across the board going to affect all the teams the same in your opinion?
Oh, no. It's a nightmare for the teams with new coaching staffs, with new quarterbacks, with new coordinators.
Good point.
One thing that I am not willing to do in week 1 is bet on any team with a new coach and or new coordinators. I won, but not 2. And you have to think that the lack of preseason, when you're trying to install a new offense, you don't have actual games to play, or you're trying to put in a new defense or new defensive concepts, you don't have actual games to play. It's a major situation for teams that are dealing with schematic changes, and those preseason games are huge for those teams. So I do expect some teams to be very negatively affected by the fact that they will be playing their preseason games in September, and those preseason games will count like regular season games.
Starting off Thursday night. It's NFL Week 1 is almost upon us. We got AFC North look here towards their season wins. Teddy, we got Baltimore, top of the division last year with the NFL MVP, 14-2 straight up, 10-6 ATS. What are you thinking for the Ravens season win total this year?
Yeah. So the Ravens have been, they're lined at 11.5, basically even money. I've seen 11.5 plus 100 plus 105 for Baltimore, which is basically where the number was at the beginning of the summer. We haven't seen any significant market adjustment for the Ravens based on this offseason. The markets like them just as much now as they did 4 months ago, 5 months ago, really, or close to it, when these numbers were virgin numbers coming off the hot off the presses.
All right, Teddy, we got Pittsburgh Steelers 8-8 last year, straight up 9-7 ATS. Also interesting note, they were 4-12, huge trenders towards the under last year. Talking about the Steelers here, Teddy.
Yeah, and so Pittsburgh, and I'm not, of course they trended towards the under. Their starting quarterback got hurt, their backup got hurt, and their defense was extraordinary. So if you were playing unders with Pittsburgh last year. He cashed a whole lot of tickets, as you mentioned. So Pittsburgh, again, in the spring, they were lined 9, fairly flat. And we've seen modest market support for Pittsburgh. Now I'm seeing like 9 over minus 140. That's a Caesars number. 9.5 at circa. 9.5 is not the prevailing market number, but some books have moved up to 9.5 because of all the over money they've taken on Pittsburgh. And again, when you have a defense that was dominant a year ago and had put up some remarkable statistical numbers, and their statistical profile fits into a lot of positive things that the sharp money looks at. And you have a QB with a couple of rings in Roethlisberger, who's supposed to be back and supposedly, hungry and fit and ready and all of that. I'm not surprised Pittsburgh's been a fairly popular choice in the offseason betting markets. They have that defensive profile, and we have, again, seen some money towards Pittsburgh over.
A popular team in the betting markets last year, Teddy, talking about the Cleveland Browns up next. Last year in the AFC North, they finished 6-10, third in the division. Also 5-11 ATS. Not a very good bet last year, talking about the Cleveland Browns. You think they kind of bounce back this year, Teddy?
Yeah, and they were lined in the 8.5 range from the opener. They're lined in the 8.5 range now. Basically, 8.5 is the prevailing number, whereas it was 8 at the opener was the prevailing number. It was 8 juice to the over initially. Now we're seeing 8.5 and basically a no juice line. 8.5 even money or 8.5 minus 105 for Cleveland over. And it's easy to see a lot of things to like about teams that were hyped and underachieved the one year. It's not like their talent level is useless. They have nothing going. This team's got plenty of talent on both sides of the football. And I'm not surprised the markets are reasonably high on Cleveland. And again, they will be able to have some fans in the stands, but you are talking about a team. I talk about teams that face a negative without a preseason. Well, new head coach, new OC, new DC in Cleveland. And that is not necessarily a bet on situation right out of the gate.
Yeah, and next team up here, the Cincinnati Bengals, talking about teams that kind of face an uphill battle with no preseason. This team may fall into that category as well with some new pieces. 2-14 last year, talking about straight up for the Cincinnati Bengals. 6-10 ATS. Talking about their season win total this year, though, Teddy, it might be a different story. Heck, who knows? It might be buy low.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of market support for Cincinnati. There really is. I'm looking at 5.5. over minus 140. I'm looking at 5.5 over minus 135. And that wasn't really there at the opener. So the juice has come. The number hasn't changed. It's 5.5, but we've seen a little bit of juice towards the Bengals over. And again, a year ago, they faced a brutal schedule and just about everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Does the preseason hurt them, or the lack of preseason? The lack of preseason does hurt them. They're breaking in a new quarterback, but at least from a coaching standpoint, there is continuity in Cincinnati this year, the way there wasn't a year ago. Last year, they were breaking in everything new, and this year, head coaching coordinators return for the Bengals, which is at least something of a positive. All the reports of Burrow have been very positive, and Cleveland Cincinnati had a bunch of injuries last year as well. So for a team that everything went wrong with, on paper, the markets say they're a good notch or two better than they were at the end of last season. Juice towards the over 5.5 for Cincinnati.
And Teddy, just a question here. I saw some of the reports on Burrow being good. Did they name him the starter? Do you know? And would that affect your handicap in terms of looking to bet on him week 1 or not, in season win total wise?
Burrow's been the starter.
Okay. It's been, okay. I wasn't sure.
Looking at anyone else as the starter besides Burrow. It's not a week 1 game I'm going to get involved with. I don't. We'll talk about the Chargers in a little bit. But I know I don't trust Cincinnati in this price range yet. And there was a third part to that question, which was,
I guess season win total wise, I didn't realize it was for sure that Burrow was going to be taking the snaps week 1. Would that have affected your season win total kind of handicap going with Burrow or going with a more veteran piece?
I mean, a lot of times I'd rather have the rookie go from the get-go. Okay. When you have it's not always, the Dolphins started Josh Rosen last year. It wasn't a rookie, but the moral equivalent thereof. And then as soon as Fitzpatrick came in, they were a competitive team. But oftentimes when a team starts the veteran and then moves towards the rookie, you see a situation where everybody in the team knows that the veteran is going to get benched anyway, and it's just a matter of time. it doesn't make it easier in many instances for that veteran QB. And usually the veteran QB is going to be supplanted by the rookie because he's not any good to begin with. So we'll see what happens. Burrow's going to start week 1 in Cincinnati. That's been they've been angling for that from the minute they drafted him.
Okay, good stuff from Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. Sports Memo season win total package is coming out tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time. Guys, go check it out. Teddy Covers handicapper page on sportsmemo.com. Also wagertalk.com. Tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time. Track record going back 20 years. One of the best in the business, guys. And it will be released with analysis starting tomorrow. We got AFC South now, Teddy. Top of the division last year. Talking about the Houston Texans here. 10-6 straight up and 8-8 ATS, depending which numbers you got them at. But 10-6 Houston Texans this year. Market, at least in the season win totals, not really in love with this Texans team this year, in my opinion, Teddy.
No, I'm seeing it. Obviously 7.5 on Houston is the prevailing number. And I honestly thought in the offseason there was like an overreaction. They were lined even in the 8 and 8 with juice, a little bit of juice initially. And there were 7.5 with a lot of juice. And now it's basically 7.5 even money. I understand you trade away DeAndre Hopkins. I understand that they hate it. The markets hate what Houston did in the offseason. And I can't think of a Bill O'Brien fan out there. That said, Deshaun Watson and 7.5 don't correlate for me. The quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, and they've got a Pro Bowler, and they're lined as a sub-500 team. I can only look at the Texans over 7.5, despite the fact that nobody likes O'Brien, and they did suffer some significant offseason losses.
And Teddy, talking about Deshaun Watson there, I don't believe he's ever been the quarterback for a losing team. Talking about NFL or college and likely high school as well. Yeah, not sure about Pee Wee football. So that's an interesting kind of stat there and he's lined at 7.5. So all they got to do is go 8-8 for you to cash your win total bet. Want to ask you a question. He did just sign for 4 years, $160 million, I believe. Does that affect anything? When a quarterback signs a contract right before the year due to motivation, anything of that sort, in your opinion?
No. Again, there's an enormous amount of information that you're going to get in the NFL. And the single hardest thing that a bettor has to do is figure out what's meaningful and the stuff that's not meaningful, I just call static, and what's static. When it comes to a QB signing a contract, a big contract, now I'm going to be home here. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, if he didn't sign the contract, he's motivated. If he signs the contract, he's comfortable. Whatever season he has, they'll blame it on one or the other. I consider that to be pure static. And nothing you can find winning bets from.
Okay. We got next team up here, Tennessee Titans, 9-7 last year. I got them 8-8 ATS. What are you thinking for the Titans this upcoming year, Teddy?
I mean, Titans have been 8.5 from the get-go. They're still 8.5, slight juice to the over. You want to talk about a team that the betting marketplace has done absolutely nothing with over the last 5 months. That's Tennessee. They were very comfortable with the 8.5 of the opener, and it hasn't moved a whole lot. So Titans have really been sitting flat in the offseason marketplace, and that's come despite some, fairly significant personnel moves and adjustments. Even with the reported Clowney signing, we haven't seen any big interest in the markets betting Tennessee over yet.
All right, Teddy, we got one. I'm really interested in your opinion on this next one because the guys who watched the show last week, this was one of the plays that I'm betting personally. Talking about the Indianapolis Colts, 7-9 last year, got them 8-8 ATS as well this year. Teddy, their season win total 9.5. Interested in your opinion on the Colts?
Yeah, Indy's been a hot team in the markets. Line is a lot. There were 9s at the opener with a little bit of juice to the over. Now, obviously, we're looking at 9.5s. From a strength of schedule standpoint, the Colts have it really, really easy. From an organization standpoint, we like the Indianapolis Colts. From a depth standpoint, there are things to like on both sides of the football. From a quarterback standpoint, they have an enormous question mark in Phillip Rivers. I understand Rivers, borderline Hall of Famers, but Phillip Rivers was not a good QB last year. He really wasn't that good the year before, and Indy's basically pushed all in on him. Now, it is a Colts team that's pushed all in this year. Okay, they've made a bunch of win now moves. They've mortgaged their future to go for 2020. Given the schedule they have, I don't blame them for making that move. But it's certainly a team, and now they're a veteran team, that if things don't start the way that they hope, teams like Indy, we've seen them unravel. I can only play the Colts under the total, especially at 9.5. I don't look at Indy. Their A game, sure, you get 10-win, 11-win season out of them based on the schedule. But that's a big if. Indy, I would not look to bet them over this number. To me, it's a good notch or two inflated.
Okay, good stuff. Like hearing that, Teddy. In the 2.5 game jump that we saw in the Indianapolis Colts to their season win total, marked right now at 9.5, and last year's finish 7-9. So the 2.5 wins bump on the win side of it. Is that the largest or one of the larger that you've seen?
No, that's very standard. Look at the Bengals.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, you see it all the time where the markets are going to adjust to 2, 3, 4 games off of what happened last year. It's not unusual. Look at the Packers. It's not. It's really not unusual to see significant adjustments between how many games the team won the year before versus what their win total is for this season.
Okay, Teddy, and finishing out the AFC South here, last team on the docket from last year's standings, Jacksonville Jaguars, 6-10 straight up last year. I got them at 7-9 ATS, Teddy.
Yeah, the Jags were 4.5, 5 at the opener. With juice to the over, and now it's basically 4.5, a flat. The markets do not like Jacksonville. And you can understand some of the concepts behind it. The Jags aren't very good. They're going to have fans. They have a returning QB. They have a coach in the hot seat. I'm not betting the Jags under. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to say overachieve. If they win 5 games, they overachieve. But if you're betting a team under 4.5 wins, you better be darn sure they're going to stink start to finish. I wouldn't be surprised. In my mind, the markets are a little bit too low on Jacksonville. And we're seeing the money pouring on Indy against the Jags for week 1. The 7.5s are getting bought up now. We're seeing 8s again. Lots of anti-Jacksonville sentiment in the markets. But some of the thought process is that they're going to come out like the Dolphins did last year, where everyone knows it's a mail-in season and they come out and get blown out week 1 and week 2. That's a possibility too. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags overachieve from a point spread perspective. And 4.5 is the lowest total on the board. You're not going to catch me betting that under.
All right, Teddy. Moving to the AFC West here, we got the Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, 12-4 in the regular season last year. 10-6 ATS is what I got them at. Patrick Mahomes talking about huge contracts in the offseason. He checks that box. What are you thinking for the Chiefs this upcoming year?
Well, Chiefs were, basically a 12-win team, 11.5 to the over at the open. I'm seeing 12 right now, plus over 12 at plus 110 at Caesars, 11.5 to the over. And again, when you're talking about this high of a win total, the highest and the lowest win totals, 4.5s, 5s, 11.5s, 12s, those half wins really matter. If you like KC, find an 11.5. Do not go over 12 because it's really hard to win 12. It's even harder to win 13. So the plus 110 you get on the over 12, if they win 13, it'd be real frustrating for a team to go 12-4. And that there were 11.5s out there that you could have gotten and you end up pushing on your season-long wager. One more thing that I want to talk about right here, right now. Okay, when it comes to these future book odds, if something happens to the NFL season and we don't get every week as scheduled, all right, your odds to win the Super Bowl. As long as there's a Super Bowl, they're going to get paid. Your odds to win divisions. As long as you the season, as long as the NFL crowns division winners, you're going to get paid. Win totals, you got to play all 16 games. So that is something worth noting when you talk about these season-long wagers.
At every sports book you're going to make your bet, it has to go 16 games.
For NFL win totals, yes. You can have over 4.5 Jacksonville wins. The Jags go 5-0 to open the season. The next week gets canceled. The NFL goes 15-week season, and your Jacksonville bet now becomes a push.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for putting that out. And that would be kind of Vegas wide here. And that's a normal thing. You think like DraftKings, FanDuel, the jersey books are the same?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yes. And my season win report will reflect that. Okay, we're going to try to make some wagers that the books can't cancel.
I like it. And it comes out tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time, Tuesday, September 8th. Guys, we got the Denver's up next. The Broncos 7-9 straight up last year, 9-7 ATS. Teddy, your thoughts on Mile High here?
So Broncos is sitting at basically 7.5 at the open. We're seeing 7.5s now with a little bit of juice to the over. 7.5 minus 140 at Caesars. 7.5 minus 120 at Circa. There's been a little bit of love for the Broncos, not a ton of love. Certainly from a schedule standpoint, Denver doesn't have it easy. And that AFC West, and we'll see as we talk about all these teams. The markets, there's no bottom feeders in this division, and the markets are showing that accordingly, with everyone but Kansas City being viewed as somewhat vulnerable.
All right, Teddy, talking about our Las Vegas Raiders up next, 7-9 finish last year, 8-8 ATS. I'll tell you, Teddy, the stadium's looking good, man. If you pass by at night, it's all lit up. It's ready to rock here. Unfortunately, fans might not be too plenty-some this season, but Las Vegas Raiders, interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, so Vegas at the start of the offseason, what did I put them as? LV. Where's LV? LAC, LAR.
No. Oh, you got them under Oakland.
Oh, no, yeah. Okay. No, there it is. So I have them in LV, but I have them in the Oakland spot.
Okay.
So, where are they? 7.5 at the opener. Guess what they are now? 7.5. A little bit of juice to the under for Vegas. Two factors to consider for the Raiders. One, I think they have 6 early start East Coast game where they travel back and forth, and somehow, some way, the NFL finds a way to screw the Raiders schedule-wise. They did this year as well. They face more early start Eastern time games than any other team from the West Coast. The other issue to be concerned about with Vegas, and the markets are reacting to that this week in the win total marketplace, not in the week 1 game against Carolina, where Vegas has taken a ton of money. But there are definitely issues with Vegas at the wide receiver position right now. It looks like they're going to be starting 2 rookies at wide receiver in week 1.
All right, Teddy, we got the LA Chargers, not to be confused with the San Diego Chargers, 5-11 straight up last year. ATS, a bunch of numbers that closed right next to the numbers. So 5-11, we'll say, is their ATS mark. But the Chargers 5-11 last year. What are you thinking this year?
So Chargers were lined in the 7.5, 8 range at the open. There were 8s with juice to the under. There were a little bit of 7.5 with juice to the over. Now it's just basically a flat 8 everywhere for the Chargers. Head coach on the hot seat, QB, I'm going to say controversy. Tyrod Taylor is a guy who's shown he can win NFL games. And if the Chargers, if things work out right for the Chargers, Justin Herbert doesn't take a snap this year. That would be their optimal scenario. And, of course, the teams that don't lose anything from not having a crowd, the Chargers at the top of the list. It probably helps the Chargers because in recent years, their home field has been their opponent's home field, literally, for every game in L.A.
Teddy, we got the NFC up next. But first, Paul in the chat box asking, hey, Teddy, is that package included in the yearly subscription? Talking about your season win total package. And yes, Paulo De Silva, it is. So if you buy his NFL full season, sportsmemo.com, or his NFL and college football full season, you will get his season win total report released tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time. 20-year track record, never had back-to-back losing seasons. He is off of a back-to-back losing season. And Teddy, those numbers are pretty impressive, man. Anything you want to shout out real quick about your season win total report?
Well, number one, I'm not off a back-to-back losing season. I'm off of one. Last year was multiple things were very frustrating a year ago, and we didn't win. I think I've had it's been since 2001. I think there's been 19 or 20 reports, and I've had 4 losing seasons during that span. I don't expect to have another one. I like this report a lot for what it's worth. And again, noon tomorrow. And you asked one of the things we have to talk about at Sports Memo, at WagerTalk, within this family. There's no bait and switch. There's nothing more to buy. We're not going to say, okay, buy the season, but you're not going to get Teddy's real plays. There's none of that nonsense, okay? And there really isn't. If you get the full season, you get every play between now and the Super Bowl, period. No bait and switch, nothing more to buy, win report included. It's the best value package. I encourage you to get on board. Obviously, there are people that aren't bankrolled for it. The people don't want it. That's fair enough. But I would never tell anyone to buy a play or to buy this report. If you want to see what I can do, give me a shot, and let's see if we can make you some money this football season.
Check it out, sportsmemo.com, released tomorrow, Tuesday, 12 noon Pacific time, with analysis on all of his season win total plays. It's Teddy covers, one of the best in the business in the NFL season win total market. We got the NFC coming up next, guys. Quick hitting all these teams with a look on their season win totals here. And remember, this is the NFL opening line report each and every Monday on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Mondays. Come back and join us. Teddy covers. I am Drew Martin. We got NFC East here. Teddy, we'll quick hit them. Philadelphia Eagles, 9-7 straight up last year, Teddy.
Yeah, the Eagles. So, for example, the Eagles last year, I had the Eagles over 10. Didn't get there. They won the division. They were the best team in the division, and they lost a good handful of games that they probably shouldn't have, and we ended up, whatever, I lost the bet. That can and does happen. Doesn't happen year in, year out. Anyhow, Philly suffered massive loss on their offensive line. The markets are very nervous about the Eagles right now. This is a team that was basically priced even with the Cowboys at the start of the offseason, and what we've seen is the Dallas money has come in on the over. The Eagles money has come in on the under. Philly was basically 9.5, and they're still 9.5, but now the over's plus 110. I'm seeing for Philadelphia, plus 115 in that range. Whereas Dallas, who again was lying in that same 9.5 range at the opener, now we're seeing 10s on the Cowboys, 10 minus 20, minus 120 on Dallas. So in a division where there were two co-favorites, now there's a favorite and a second-tier contender. And that has everything to do with what we've seen on that Eagles offensive line, which has now lost a pair of starters from a unit that wasn't dealing with great depth to begin with.
Teddy, we got the Dallas Cowboys up next, 8-8 last year straight up.
Yeah, I just talked about Dallas being an opening 9.5 and moving to 10, and even 10 over in many locations. So the Cowboys have been the clear choice to win the division and a clear choice for over bettors in the offseason marketplace. And, of course, the Cowboys are one of the teams that will have at least some fans in attendance.
New York Football Giants up next, 4-12 straight up last year. What are you thinking for the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants, at the open were either 6 to the over or 6.5 to the under. Now it's pretty much a flat 6 everywhere. Caesar's 6 overs minus 115. Circa's 6 over minus 120. From a strength of schedule standpoint, the Giants are up against it a little bit. Not necessarily going to be easy for them or any of the teams in the NFC East. I'll say this about the Giants. There's things to like about them, things to really like about them, and things to really dislike about them. I'm a little bit more bullish on the Giants than the betting markets, but given the toughness of their schedule, they're not a team I'm real excited about playing the over. And the markets haven't been either. Obviously, we've seen trickle of under money on the G-men.
Teddy, the team that finished in the basement last year, the Washington Redskins, last year 3-13. Now this year, changing the name to the Washington Football Team. Interested in your thoughts, and if you're going to be calling them the Washington Football Team all season long, Teddy.
The Skins. I haven't called them the Redskins in years. I prefer to call them the Skins, and then we'll probably try to call them the Washington Football Team because that's in Daniel Snyder's brilliance. That's how he has chosen to market them this year. That's who heck of a plan. Good thing you had that plan together, Snyder. Oh man, having a bad owner, it's tough. It's tough if you're a fan of that team or any team where the ownership is a nightmare. That's one of the reasons why I stopped being a fan and became a bettor. Redskins are 5 little juice to the over the summer. They're 5 a little juice to the over right now, and the markets basically haven't done a damn thing with Washington since the beginning of the offseason. They've been lined, and I mean the point spread against Philly hasn't changed for week 1 from the opener, and the season win number hasn't changed either. So it's a team that the markets are taking a collective. Well, I don't know if you want to say a yawn, but they're saying they're priced correctly. Of course, the Redskins, another team with a new coach and new coordinators coming into the campaign.
All right, guys, we got 3 divisions left here in the next 15 minutes or so. NFC North followed by the NFC South and then the NFC West. Going to quick hit the season win totals here with Teddy covers his season win total report coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, 12 noon Pacific time. Check it out, sportsmemo.com. We got the Green Bay Packers up next, Teddy, 13-3 straight up last year.
So I'll tell you this. Here's a hint for you. I'm not playing any teams in this division over. I don't like any of them.
All of them. Wow.
All right. And either the markets, right? The Packers were lined at 9. Again, a 13-win team that opened at 9 and hasn't taken any over money. And, really the numbers on Green Bay is another team where the markets have collectively yawned or a little bit of under money on Green Bay. And obviously they wildly overachieved their statistical profile a year ago. There are chemistry concerns there, but the markets are saying the Packers a good notch or two weaker than they were a year ago, and the offseason money has come on Green Bay under, not heavy money, but that's where the trickle of money on the Green Bay has come under. And one of the things about this year, normally I'm rushing to get that report out because the markets are going nuts, and the markets are jumping all over the place following the preseason games. This year, for the majority of teams, the markets haven't done a whole lot. There've been a lot of yawns. So what I'm really trying to highlight is the teams where the markets have really moved from April, where we've seen a clear opinion from bettors one way or the other.
And Teddy, real quick, have you heard anything about the total handle bet on NFL season win total market? I'm guessing it's a lot less than in normal years.
I haven't heard. I really haven't heard anything about it. And it's not something the books like season win total handle isn't something that they're all yip yapping about. You know what I mean? They'll talk about the overall handle, but it's not something that stands. Oh yeah, we've gotten a ton of season win action. The books like the season win actions; they get to keep the money all year. But it's not a great moneymaker for them. They have winning years and losing years in the win marketplace, which, again, when it comes to the future book, odds to win the Super Bowl or odds to win the conferences,
they like that.
They never have the losing years.
Right.
The win total, sometimes they do.
Okay.
It's in some sense a loss leader for a handful of books. So that's not something they brag about. I'm sure the handle's down, significantly down from where it's been in years past, because I see it in the numbers. Where the numbers, you'd see the numbers really bouncing around, and this year it's just not that way.
Yeah, not enough money to move it. So, and that, guys, that speaks to season win total bets being a lot smarter of a bet because it's less expensive to make the bet than a future, which the VIG, how much the sports book is charging you to make the bet, is so much higher in the futures market than it is in the NFL in any season win total market. So, good point there, Teddy. We got the Minnesota Vikings up next, 10-6 straight up last year.
Yeah, and the Vikings again were lined 9, a little bit of over juice at the back in April, and now we're seeing 9 plus 110 on the over. For example, at Caesars, I've got them at the even money to the over at circa. So it's a team that again a little bit of under money, nothing significant, but. It is worth noting this is a division where, we have multiple teams kind of lined in this same range. No clear favorite, obviously, in the NFC North. And a team, as we get to Chicago and Detroit, we'll talk about them. The Lions in particular have gotten a ton of betting attention in the marketplace. This is one division where the last place team is taking more money to win the division than the first place team, or the top 2 teams combined.
Interesting. And Teddy, those are the next 2 teams up. We got Chicago Bears 8-8 last year.
Yeah, the Bears, let's see, they were lined 8.5, 8.5 to the under or 8 with juice to the over at the get-go. And the Bears, how do I phrase this politely? They have not, the reports out of Chicago aren't pretty, and the marketplace has reacted. This has been one of the stronger reactions. Like I said, there were 8.5 at the open. Now we're seeing it 8 with the over at plus 115, the under at minus 135. I'm seeing 7.5 now at circa, where they've already moved off the 8. So it's been nothing but under money. This is one of the bigger movers, and a lot of it has to do with the QB position. Again, they brought in Foles to challenge Trubisky, and then every report of the practice was, gee, the Bears passing game didn't look good today. Gee, the Bears couldn't move the ball down the field today. Gee, the Bears offensive line had trouble blocking today. And then eventually Trubisky gets named the starter, not because he did anything good, because Foles wasn't any good either. So the markets are this is one of the, again, stronger opinions in the betting markets. The betting markets do not like Chicago. Lots of money coming in on the under for the Bears, and we've seen the week 1 line move significantly with the money coming in on the Lions.
Yeah, I mean the Bears 8-8 last year, but just 4-12 ATS. We got the Detroit Lions finishing last in the division last year, 3-12-1 last year. Teddy.
Yeah, so of course the betting markets don't live in Detroit, so they don't know. If you're a Lions fan, you know. Yeah. Hope springs eternal in Detroit.
Right.
I'm seeing. So I mean, again, this is a team that was basically lined at 7, and we're still seeing 7, a little bit of juice to the over in some spots, but we are seeing money on Detroit to win the division. There's when you ask people who their sleeper is, you know, and you go going around town, that's all you do. Hey, who do you like this year? You know, you're making BSing with as I was going around this weekend, signing up for some contest, you BS with everyone in the books. Who's your sleeper? Who's your sleeper? I heard a lot more Lions than I'm used to hearing. They're not a team that I trust. Stafford, obviously, when you talk about QBs in the division, Stafford's right there with anyone. Yeah, you do have a head coach in the hot seat, which means that that there's a sense of urgency there for Detroit. But you look at that schedule. You know, if they lose week 1, they could go 0-8. And yet the markets, they're modestly bullish on the Lions. Certainly, they've been a popular wise guy play, both for week 1 and in terms of their season win reports, and most notably as a quote unquote long shot to win the division, even though the number's not a real long shot anymore. If you're from Detroit, you share none of that optimism.
Teddy, we got the NFC South and NFC West to finish off the NFL opening line report each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you're liking the content, guys, please give us the thumbs up sign, the thumbs up button. It does help us out. We got the New Orleans Saints up next, 13-3 straight up last year. Teddy, I think they're going to be one of the teams hurt the most with no fans in the stands with that home field advantage. What are your thoughts on the Saints overall?
Yeah, I mean, that's from people that everyone I've talked to was talking about when you're listing the teams that are hurt most by no attendance. New Orleans, New Orleans, Seattle, Minnesota, all 3 of them stand out in that regard. Teams that had significant home field edges that are borne out by their point spread results at home. They're not just some, they win straight up. I don't care if they win straight up. I'm going to win ATS. But I'm with you that the lack of a crowd will likely affect the Saints more than perhaps some other teams. They're basically 10.5. They've been 10.5 from the get-go. They were 10.5 at the open with no juice. I'm seeing 10.5 right now, minus 110 either way, 10.5 even money. The markets for this entirety of this offseason have said, New Orleans, you're priced right.
Teddy, we got the Saints rival here, the Atlanta Falcons, 7-9 straight up last year.
Yeah, and the Falcons are an interesting story, and a team that is another story where a squad has underachieved a little bit in recent years, where there's thoughts that this team could be one of the surprises in the NFL this season, where defensively there are things to like. QB, there are things to like, but there is enough not to like as well, and that's why they were 7.5 at the open. Atlanta, and basically we're still seeing another collective yawn, 7.5 minus 110 for the Falcons in both circa and season. I apologize for not using the Westgate numbers. I'm only using 2 because when I start to get to 3, then I start you spend a little bit too much time looking at all that, and your head's bouncing around. So it's not like the Westgate's not a great place to make your bets for season wins, but there are certainly other options. South Point as well. A very good place in Vegas to make these type of bets, and a place I have no hesitation recommending. However, for the purposes of this podcast, I'm stuck with. I don't want to. We're running later as it is, and I don't want to give myself too much to try to break down in a relatively short period of time. But Atlanta's basically been a team that's lined at 7.5 from the get-go. There's a lot of thought for upside for Atlanta, and yet you look at the week 1 marketplace. The markets aren't high on this Falcons team, and certainly we've seen that in the offseason betting marketplace as well. The market's looking at the Falcons as being very similar to what they've been, as opposed to, let's say, the Super Bowl Falcons team from just a few years back.
Talking about movers and shakers in the offseason, the Tampa Bay Bucks, maybe the top of the list here, 7-9 straight up last year, bringing in Tom Brady and a bunch of other top line players here. Teddy, what are you thinking for the Bucks this season?
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are certainly they're a team like the Colts that has said we want to win right now. And the markets have said, okay, knock yourself out. 9.5 at the open, 9.5 currently. Yeah, there's some a little bit of juice to the over. Minus 130, minus 140, and at the open, there really wasn't that juice to the over. But so that I think is warranted given the veterans that they've signed. That was pre-Gronk. Let alone the upgrades they made at running back, et cetera, in recent weeks. So, note the difference. The Saints are lined a full win higher than Tampa. They're not co-favorites. New Orleans is supposed to be better.
We got next team up here, Carolina Panthers, 5-11 straight up last year. Obviously, injuries at the quarterback position. So, what are your thoughts this upcoming year on the Panthers, Teddy?
Well, I mean, Carolina is a team that's up against it a little bit. You talk about a new head coach, a new quarterback, new coordinators on both sides of the ball, a defense that the top 15 tacklers last year, 15 guys had 300 plus tackles. Played 300 plus. No, sorry, had 300 plus snaps. Not 300 tackles. 300 plus snaps, and of those 15 guys, 4 of them returned. You look at Matt Rule's track record, a coach on the collegiate level who succeeded tremendously. First year at Temple, they go 2-10. First year at Baylor, they go 1-11. So there's certainly some issues with Carolina. I'll say that. The win total, however, the markets are saying, oh, don't worry about them. They'll be fine. It was 5.5 at the open. It was 5.5 now with little juice to the over. And it's still 5.5 with little juice to the over. So as a division, the markets really haven't done a lot with the win total markets in the NFC South.
Teddy, quick question here. College coaches that have had success kind of fitting this profile, making the jump to the NFL, do you look at that as a bet on, a fade, or it's kind of too wide of a brush to kind of fit in? How do you look at that?
A complete non-factor, in my opinion. I mean, there are some college coaches that come in the NFL and win Super Bowls. There are other college coaches that come into the NFL and they're stuck on a lousy team and they say, oh, that guy couldn't coach. And a lot of it's random. In terms of college coaches can or coach and they can't coach in the NFL, there's more randomness in that than you might think.
All right, guys. He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. We got one division left here, finishing it off. NFC West. Going to quick hit all the teams here. And remember, his season win total package is released tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time, sportsmemo.com. It is included in his full season package, NFL or college football NFL combo package. And remember, guys, it's $9 Monday at sportsmemo and wagertalk.com. All plays discounted to just $9 today only. We got San Francisco up next, 13-3 straight up last year, Teddy.
Yeah, and San Fran, the initial number on San Fran was mostly 10.5s with heavy juice to the over. I saw as high as 10.5 at minus 140 plus on the 49ers back in April. Now it's 10.5 with juice to the under. So even though the number is exactly the same at 10.5, this is a significant move against the 49ers. Some of it certainly Super Bowl loser hangover factor. Some of it is the other teams that, from a strength of schedule standpoint, the Niners are most assuredly up against it. So lots of money coming on San Fran under their win total, even though on paper, this is still the best team in the division.
Seattle Seahawks up next, Teddy, 11-5 straight up last year.
Yeah, the Seahawks are another team that the markets have not been particularly enamored with in recent weeks. And again, they were sitting in the 9 range coming out, and they got bumped up to 9.5, and now at 9.5, we've seen under money coming on Seattle. So this has been a team that's almost two-way action. The initial money came for the Seahawks, and in recent days, last week, seen a little bit of money coming in against Seattle. But from a strength of schedule standpoint, they too have a difficult slate from which QBs do we trust to win, which QB/head coach combo do we trust to win games in the COVID era. Certainly Russell Wilson / Pete Carroll has attracted a fair bit of betting market attention. That duo, a duo we trust more than most to be prepared right from the get-go for the Seahawks. So a little bit of over money initially for Seattle. That over money's tapered off in recent weeks.
Teddy, we got the 9-7 straight up last year. LA Rams. Interested in your opinion on the Rams overall, and also interested in your opinion if there's anything to handicapping the change of venue for their home field this upcoming season.
Well, it's hard to say in terms of the venue because obviously the new SoFi Stadium for both the Rams and the Chargers, but with no fans, how much is that going to matter? I don't know. I've talked to people that are using a legit zero for home field edge in the NFL this year across the board. I've talked to people that are like they still have to travel, they still have to stay in hotels. The home team still has the edges. We're playing where they're comfortable, and that it's still worth a couple of points even without fan noise. So venue-wise, the answer is we're going to watch like a hawk. We're going to read like a hawk. We're going to see if we can find some home field adjustments or lack thereof. And if there's a difference between one team and another, we're going to try to isolate that early. That'll really help down the road. When it comes to the Rams, the markets have not liked the Rams this offseason. They opened up basically in the 9 range. They're 8.5s out there, but 9. And now we're looking at 8.5s with juice to the under on LA. So another team like the 49ers where the money's come, again, not crazy money, but the money's come fairly heavily betting against LA. Concerns about that defense. Obviously, you let Wade Phillips go. You let a lot of big-name veterans go on that D. Sometimes the D gets better when the big-name, high-priced veterans go bye-bye.
He's Teddy Covers, guys. His NFL season win total report released tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific time, 20-year track record. He's been great. I'm going to be betting it personally. I definitely recommend it, and it's included in his NFL full season and college football NFL combo full season package, sportsmemo.com with the analysis. We got one team left here, Teddy, but we're up against it time-wise. So, guys, on your way out, if you could smash the like button, it does help us out. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to put any comments there on the YouTube channel on WagerTalk. Teddy, I'll throw it over to you with the Arizona Cardinals and whatever your outro should be for this NFL opening line report, Teddy Covers.
Sure. It's Cardinals open at 7. They got bet up to 7.5 real quick, and they've stayed there all summer. And I thought we might see more Cardinals love, but we really haven't. It stayed. There was a big initial move towards Arizona, and since that time, they've been sitting at basically 7.5 flat for the majority of the summer. So initial move, loved Arizona. Since that time, neutral towards Arizona, a team that turned some heads last year, but didn't exactly. It still has concerns on the defensive side of the football, most assuredly, and a QB that has turned some heads now in his second year as the starter. In terms of closing thoughts, look, it was a long show. I want to thank you for you stuck around to the end. I appreciate that very much. Judith as well. We'll do it every single Monday. It's going to be different next week. Next week is the true opening line report. We go through all 16 NFL games for the upcoming week, break down where the number is, where the opener is, where my powering number is, what the look-aheads were, and where we can expect the markets to move. So it's a show that's gotten very popular over the years. It's as good as anything I do. It's as good as anything you do, Drew. The opening line report every Monday right here, 10 a.m.